So the screen of this landing page is what we are going to build today. So I will show you how I built this one and all the resources that I use for building this simple static website. And then I myself come from an IT background. And then last time during my studies, I have this problem where I know building front end, I know building back ends, but I don't know the ideas on how to do communications for both applications. So I will be talking about the blueprint as well. And hopefully everyone will be able to understand what I'm trying to share tonight. Okay. Yep. Welcome to the webinar today. Today, you will learn on how can you build your own web applications by all the resources that I share, and then following the steps that I teach you during the demo site. So you'll be able to understand like the key components for you to build a simple web applications. So by the end of this webinar, right, you'll be able to understand the key components for a web development. And then I will also explain about the resources or the tools that I'm using to build my web applications. So a little bit things about myself is I'm a software engineering graduate. Graduate as a Java developer. So I learned legacy programming language, which I think a lot of IT students in the university are still learning. And then I picked up quite a few programming language throughout my career. So the first company that I joined is Watch Over Me, which is a startup company where we focus on building safety mobile applications. So I would join them becoming a backend developer where I handle a lot in server part. So I need to set up the servers and then reading the data from by using the servers and pass it to the mobile applications and the web applications. And while working on the project for half a year, so we do a big transitions from Java to Ruby on Rails, where because the architectural design is changed, and then a lot of things we need to upgrade, and then we also need to do web scraping because we're trying to focus more in crime data analysis by providing safety reports for our mobile app users or even web users as well. And then when we switched to Ruby on Rails, I was like crawling using Ruby and on Rails to do web scraping, to scrape all the crime data down from an API. After that, I pick up Python because I will need to use Python to read on the crime news to determine the crime type based on the context and the title of the news itself. So that's what I'm working in. That's what I did in Watch Over Me. After that, I moved into a software hub where one of the clients is a F&B company, which is based in Singapore. We help them to build web applications where the project I got is the business operation dashboards by using Python and Django and then JavaScript to build, of course, HTML to build the web applications full-fledged, everything from scratch. It took us around 1.5 years to build up that dashboard and all the web applications and set up the data pipelines and analytics data and even mobile data as well. So it took us like 1.5 years to finish up the project. After the project finished up, I moved on to Asia as a full-time data scientist. But because I come from a software engineering background, I have the knowledge and the skill sets to build servers, API servers. So when I join Asia, I will need to help the data science team to serve all the data that they build, all the products that they build directly to the web applications and mobile applications. So that is what I'm working in. That's what I did in Asia. I left Asia last year, started off my own company where I help people, startup companies and small SME companies to build data warehouse solutions and simple web applications. So if you have any questions on data warehouse solutions or even web applications, feel free to ping me in my email. So you can email me at edmund@alliancedelete.io. Yeah. So now here are some of the big questions on um, what is full stack web development. Because the title for this workshop is how build your own web applications. But over here, I will want to explain on what is full stack web development. So whatever you are able to see from your browser, we call that applications or the website as a front end or a user interface. So that is what you can see. Whatever you can't see, which is based in the server, we call that as backend. So these two applications are separate out, and full stack developer will need to build on the front end and the back end as well. So it's like you are working both two different jobs, which is front end developers and back end developer together. So full stack web development is in Malaysia term we call it like pakalia everything. You finish up the front end, the user interface, and you finish up the back end. So everything you work in yourself or in as a team, not alone as a team. That is what we call full stack web development. And what's the career prospect? So, like I mentioned just now, you will need to work as a front end developer and a back end developer. Obviously, the pay for a full stack developer will be higher than a back end or a front end, which I will cover the number in a few slides later. So, what are the tools that I need? This will be covered in the demo site. So no worries on that. And then how does application communicate? Okay, this is the big question that I always ask myself when I just graduate or before I graduate. Because communications between two different applications or even two different programming language, we can go through by applications protocol interface, APIs. So this is one of the terms that IT or a person that is not from an IT background, you must remember this one, API. So API is one of the way where you can extract data from the server. So how do you know that what is the API looks like? So API is like an address. It's like a domain address. So whatever, I'll give you one example. If you open up your browser, right? If you open up a browser and you type google.com. So google.com, when you type that inside the browser link, right? If you do a request to the backend server, we can call that as an API ready. So it's like doing a request back, and then when the data comes back, it's like API calling ready. So this is how the front applications and the back application can do the communications. So we always remember this thing. API is the key communications framework that you will need to understand. Because you can use this API for web applications, for mobile applications. You can use it through different applications. As long as there's an internet involved, you can use API to do data processing. Okay, and then how can I start my Hello World projects? So today, I will show you one of the tools that I use, which I encourage my students to use without setting up your laptop with all the environments that you are required to start working on a project. You can use your browser, create your first Hello World projects ready. Okay. So why web development? So this number are the statistics that I got from Q1, I think Q1 or Q2 2020, which is based from the nextweb.com, which if you're interested, you can just go over there and search. So there's a 7.75 billions of urbanizations. People are able to access the internet. And then we have 5.19 billions of penetrations for mobiles. So a lot of mobiles they can access internet already. Obviously, smartphones, yeah. I'm not mentioning about Nokia 3310 or those mobile phones. So smartphones, we have 5.19 billions of penetrations. And then website web applications, 4.54 billion penetrations, which we have covered quite a huge amount of numbers for our internet users, and then 3.8 billions of penetration for medium messages. So we have this big amount of messages, medias been sending around for the past decades. Okay, and then I will say that everyone will use at least 5 applications over here. You have Twitter, you have Messenger, Facebook, Tweak, Instagram, LinkedIn, Google Photos, etc. So all of these that have web applications. If I'm not sure whether you notice that a lot of companies that start with web application first, then only they move into mobile applications, right? So majority of the web applications over here, they are using, they're built from web applications, then only they move into mobile applications, okay? So for the career prospect. So a mid-career web developer or full-stack developer, right? Mid-career, I will say is around 2 years experience to 3 years. You can expect around 74,000 per year. This is Malaysia, 74,000 per year medium. And then when you have more experience or more framework that you know, and then you you know how to play around with all the frameworks already, you can even expect higher. 95 to 140,000, and then monthly it's close to like 6-7 thousand per month at least for a full stack web developer. So this is mid career. And then if you go to a startup company, and then a senior full stack developer, you can even ask for at least 10,000 per month Malaysian ringgit. And this is one of the startup companies that's based in Malaysia. Okay, there's a lot of startup company grooming in Malaysia, and then I think most of them they have fundings. As long you have the skill set they need, they are happy to hire. Obviously, since it's a startup company, the team is small, so you expect to developing things faster, and then more pressure. So the first company I joined in Watch Over Me, I spent totally 6 months without rest. So Monday to Sunday, every single day, all the way 6 months just to pick up everything that I need to pick up. Because whatever thing that I learned in the UC are very theoretical. When I move into industry, I have to learn every single thing again in order for me to perform inside the company or even deliver a new applications up. Because university taught us programming language, but industry we need to learn framework. So framework is a set of library where the open source community already created for you, where you will need to read all the documentations to understand how do you use all those frameworks. So it's like a calculator, right? A calculator, when you buy a scientific calculator, you have all the calculus or algorithms inside a calculator already. The only thing is you need to go to the read the documentations, the instruction how to use, search on there and find how to use the scientific calculator, right? So it's the same thing like the framework that we use to build a web applications. You will need to spend time reading on that, learning on how to get things done. So this is the difference when I myself, when I graduate, I find it whatever the things that I learned in university is like very basic, very basic. So you need to spend time reading on the framework itself. So yep, this is senior full stack developer. And if you are tired with 9 to 5, 9 to 6 working hour, you can become a freelancer. So this is a statistics from the freelancer.com, where a 3 to 5 years experienced full stack developer, you can charge at 100 to 140 USD per hour. Yes, per hour. So if you convert it back, it's like around 500, 600 ringgit, Malaysia. So it's quite a huge amount over that as a freelancer for a full stack developer. Okay. If you have any questions on the career prospect, feel free to leave your questions inside the Q&A or the group chat sessions. Yeah. If I go too fast, feel free to pause me inside the group chat. Okay. So here are some of the things that I want everyone to know. But what is website and web applications? So a website is something meant for information and branding, where you focus more in informations, company products, and then one big rule for a website is a static one. A website is static, but if it's a web applications, it's a website where you can do interactions. There's features over that where you can do user logins, you can do add to cart, payments, purchase stuff directly. So that is what we call web application. So you need to be very, very clear on this one. A website and a web applications. Yeah. So there's a lot of if I bet when you join or register this webinar, I think you already like did some of the homework to search for what is the tool, what is the programming language that you need to learn to build a web applications, right? Or even a website. Throughout a lot of programming language, lead, we choose JavaScript to build. And then I will explain on why do we use JavaScript instead of like PHP, C Sharp, Python, .NET, and etc. Or Ruby on Rails. Yeah. Okay. We use JavaScript to build our web applications. So, we got a questions from. So we just paste inside here. So Reese asks like web developer, what is related to my business? Can I start with study in certificate level? Okay, so being a web developer, you don't really need a certificate, but that doesn't mean that you don't need to go for tertiary studies. Okay, um, degree is still important. Degree is still important, but I will be honest over here to say that uh, without all the companies that I joined, the two startup company and the MNC company Asia joined, they didn't really ask for my certificates and then even for my final projects. No, they didn't ask. More likely is they need the skill to help them to solve the problems. Okay. Yes. Web developer, what is related to my business? It depends on whether your business want to have web applications over there, where you can push your business all the way to internet, and then how can you bring that even further? Okay, I hope I answered your questions. Yeah. Okay. Got other questions. Okay, I will answer two questions, then I will move on with the questions. So, Poon asked about for IT industry experience qualification, which is more important, is diploma enough? Yes, a diploma is enough, but if you have the opportunity to go even further, I would strongly suggest you can go further. But at the same time, because you are able to get a lot of resources nowadays, it's very easy for you to pick up. And I would encourage students to start working on their side projects. Learn all the frameworks as you can while going with your tertiary studies. And then qualifications or even some of the extra certs, it really depends on which path that you want to go to. Because for myself, I'm a software engineer and then I convert myself into a data scientist where I went online to search for all the information and then certificates, Coursera's, Udemy, and even I have my own mentors to guide me through all the ways to become a data scientist. Depends on which career path you're planning to go to. So certifications at some point, yes, is important. If you can go further in diploma, advanced diploma, then it will be good. Best is you can go until degree levels. Okay. Now back to the question, back to the slides. So when we pick the JavaScript as the programming language that we want to use as uh, the tool to build our web applications, and then we came across with a lot of stacks, architectural stacks. So I bet like some of you guys have heard of lamp stack, bean stack, right? And then we didn't really like use lamp stack, bean stack because we find that structured database is, how should I put it? It's a little bit tedious to build the web applications, right? Uh, we will use backend for the structured database or with unstructured database together. But during the course, because we want to cover most of the things inside lead, right? We choose Jamstacks. So Jamstack stands for JavaScript API and markup. So we want to simplify the web development, and then at least students are able to understand on, okay, the first thing is what should I build, and then what's next over that, and how can I design the web applications architectures. If we include too many elements inside, right? First thing, students will be very confused, and then the next thing is you will know how to link things up. So when we came across with this Jamstack, then we find that it's easier for students to learn, and then at least they have the big picture of what's going on. Previously, before we move our structures into Jamstack, right? We use MinStack. So, well, because MinStack have one extra element inside, which we need to use 6 days of bootcamp style to teach our students. And then when we came across with Jamstack, and then we find that it's easier for the student to understand, and then easier to pull our web applications up directly. By using Jamstack, you're able to build a simple web applications within a week. Yes, within a week. It's that simple. So tonight I will explain on the Jamstack that I will be using, this JavaScript APIs and markup, and then the structures of the project. So after tonight, you can directly jumpstart on your Hello World projects and start building something. Okay. So for the demo side, so this is the applications that the website that I will demo on how do you create this one. So this is just a static one. Okay, a static website, which is I took Airbnb as the reference point. If you go export nearby, it's something like this. But because they have a lot of elements inside, which I didn't really want to cover too much, and then I would want to cover the main thing on how can you start working on that. So this is the design that I took from Airbnb, and then I replicate it, and I will show you how do you build this website out by just using simple programming language. Okay, so before I go into the demo side, let me go through the slide a little bit more, the theory part. So for front end, so like I mentioned, when we build on full stack web development, right, we have front end and back ends. So for front end, that's Elementums for non-business or non-IT people. Is what we say that everything your users are able to see and interact. So if you open our browsers, right, everything that you can see from a browser, we call it as front end. The user interface. And all front end, all website or all web applications, they are built up from three main components. No matter what programming language that you choose to use, they are built from three things, which is HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. So HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, where it defines the foundations or the structures of the website or web applications. And then JS stands for JavaScript, where it's the one that do the control, the interactions, the animation control, data submissions, creating posts, login, purchasing, payments, everything that you can do inside of web applications is handled by JavaScript. The next one, the blue color, which is the CSS, which is the cascading style sheet. When you want to cascade any style or you want to create cards, you want to change background colors, you want to use image, you want to create rounded edge of your buttons, anything that related to theme, colors, positions is handled by CSS, cascading style sheet. So these three things, all the website is the product of these three. Yes, the end result, whatever your users are able to see, is built by these three components. Okay, so I will be using these three components to show you how do I build the website up tonight. Yes, I will pull up tonight from empty projects. Okay, and then I will show you how can I reuse all the things that I built before to speed up my web development. So we'll go for the first one, HTML, Hypertext Markup Language. So for Hypertext Markup Language, right, the only thing that you need to be aware is, can you see the arrow over here and the arrow over here? So the syntax and the alphabets that is in blue color, dark blue. I want you to focus on the dark blue color. That is what we call HTML tag. So for all HTML tag, we have an open and a closed one. So if you can see from a H1 over here, and then there's an NH1 over here. So this is what we call open tag, and this is what we call closed tag. So a closed tag always has a front slash at the beginning. And then each of the HTML tag will always end up with a closing tag. And some cases like image, IMG stands for image, and we don't really need to have a close tag image over here, but we will end with a front slash over that. So every HTML tag, we need to have a close tag or a closing front slash at the ending of the taggings. So this is what we call HTML. And divisions is where we create structures. We group things together, structures by structures, layer by layer. So for each layer, we will use different styling. Okay. It will take a little bit time for you to understand, like, when do I need to create more divisions? When do I need to reduce the divisions? Because divisions, the number of divisions or number of layer required, it depends on the CSS styling that you will need to use. Okay, I will explain it later. So this is HTML. So the next one will be CSS. So in CSS, right, you can see over here. So CSS and HTML is totally different stuff, yeah? The way you write, the syntax, how it looks is totally different. So for CSS, you can set CSS to HTML tag. So in all HTML, we have a body tag, we have a header tag, we have a footer tag. So you can set your styling to a body. So from here, I'm setting the text color. So color is a setting that we want to define for the text one. And then we want to set all the text to become grayish. It's not totally black, it's gray color, red, green, blue. So you can notice that the wordings over here, all of them, they are not black, they are in gray. Comparing the words, the color of here, and this color, this is totally black, and this is gray. Okay, so this is how we can set different style inside a website. And for example, you can see locations over here, text transform uppercase. So if you notice that the brown color text over here, it's all changed into uppercase, and then color change, the font color change to brown, the font size is 12 pixels, and the font weight is bold. So you can see that all of this, it changed from the beginning. If I go back to the previous slides, can you see, where's my cursor? Can you see the wordings at the bottom? And the next slides. Okay, can't see my cursor again. So no worries. So this is how we can play around with CSS by setting up different kind of style inside our web applications. Okay, next slide. Okay. For JavaScript. So like I mentioned before, JavaScript is the one that allow your users to do interactions or creating actions inside of web applications. Like for example, this short click over here, it shows that the user is trying to do a form submissions into the backend server. So the form submissions is handled by the JavaScript over here. Okay. So these three main components are the one to create a simple web application or even website itself. So now here's the main thing that I want everyone to remember. Okay, remember components. For front-end web applications, we build components. As you can see from the image, you can see by card, two fellows is holding one big navigation bar over there. So you need to think all the stuff that you can see inside your website as components. Okay, one component, you build components by components in front-end web applications, and then you mix around the components, so it's very easy for you to reuse components, and then very easy for you to restructure the components. If components is very confusing for you, I will change it to another term, widgets. If you play around with WordPress before, you are able to drag and drop the widgets inside WordPress, right? So widget is what we call components. So we build components inside the front-end web applications, and then we can use it throughout different pages, and then we also can place the widget in different locations that we want inside the web applications. Okay, so this is front-end. Now I will go to backend. A very quick one, because there's too many things in backend. I would just want to do a summary on backend side. Because frontend is very easy for everyone to imagine, because it's something where you can see, you can interact from frontend. But backend side, everything is in codings. Everything is coding. It's very hard for me to explain through wording. But I will show you the big pictures. So here, imagine you are sitting in front of your computer, right? And then you open up your browser, and then you just type google.com, right? And when you are able to see the Google's landing page with the big Google icon and the search inputs, search bar, search box, okay? And that is what we call a request and response. So how does it work? So when you open up your browser and then you type google.com inside the URL link, when you press enter, your browser will do a simple request to the server to say that, hey, there's a user requesting on this google.com domain. We will need to show something to the user. Once the server determines that the user interface that they want to show, then they will do a response with the HTML, JavaScript, and CSS back to the browser. Then only the browser will do the rendering, render on the CSS, render on the HTML, then only display the result to the user, where this process happens within milliseconds. Yes, milliseconds nowadays. But if you come from 1 to 8 KB per second last time, where if you are using those modem with a lot of sound beeping around, that is the time where you will feel the pain on waiting for the response. Because if the website itself has a very huge graphic and flash, it will take like a few minutes for it to load. But nowadays, it just takes milliseconds because of internet speeds. And this process is what we call request and response, where we need to use APIs. Yes, still remember API to do the data passings and then to allow the front-end applications, which is your browser, communicate with your backend server by using request and response. So backend is everything happen behind the scene. I think everyone came across with this image in Facebook where you will always be able to see the iceberg and you won't know how huge it is under the iceberg. So under iceberg is what we call backend. The iceberg that you can see at top part is what we call front end. So there's a lot of things that backend will need to handle, especially in logics part, to do value checkings, to do validations, authentications. I'll give you a very simple example. When you try to log into any web applications, normally it requires you to type in your username and password, right? And then when you type in your username and password and then you click on the submit button, both of your username and password will get encrypted in your front end, and then only it will send to the back end. So when your data, encrypted data, is sent over to the back end ready, back end will need to do decryption first. Once it decrypt ready, it will take your username, check with the database, pull out the user credentials of your account, then decrypt the password, do the comparison on the password to see that whether it's equal or not from the front end and from the database. If it's equal, next step, then it will generate a token. So this is one of the very popular applications that a lot of web applications are using. So that will generate one set token, which is access token and refresh token, to send it back to the browser and store it inside your browser cookies or your local storage. So, but every time you go to the web applications, you don't really need to do a login again, but you can direct access. One example, Facebook. When you log in your Facebook already, you quit your browser. When you type in facebook.com again, your browser will do automatically login for you, right? But you don't need to type in user and password every single time when you land to the website. So this is how they store the tokens. And then when so all the tokens, right, that is stored inside a browser, they have an expired time. So once it's expired, a refresh token will need to send it back to the server, and a set of tokens will be generated and saved inside your browser again. So this is a very, very simple authentications that a lot of web applications is using, access tokens. And if you want to know more about authentications, you can just feel free to join on the lead knowledge circles and ask a question, and then we will be very happy to answer your questions. Yeah. Okay, I saw a lot. For those who posted your questions, hold on. Once we finish up the demo, I will answering all the questions from your side. Okay, so for backend server, you can use Express.js servers. So Express.js is one of the framework where you can pull up an API server within 1 hour. Yes, within 1 hour. If you follow with all the tutorials in Express.js, you can pull up an API server within 1 hour without setting up server, without learning how do you set up the environment for a server, just simple projects. And within 1 hour, you can create an API from there, API server from there. Okay, so it's that simple. But tonight, I will show you guys how to pull up a front-end applications. Express.js backend server, we will try to cover it in the next few workshop or webinars. We'll try to cover on these ones, okay? So next slides will be blueprint. Okay, should I go to the blueprint? Okay, I don't go to the blueprint first. I will go through the code. Okay, wait, this one. Okay, so if you, I'm not sure whether everyone got the chance heard of Code Sandbox. Code Sandbox. I will just share the link inside the group chat, yeah? So Code Sandbox is one of the tools where you can use as an online text editor. So long story short, you can use this website to build web applications. Yes, website, but obviously you need to use programming language. If you want to use Code Sandbox, the first thing is you will need to create a GitHub account. So you might ask me, Edmund, what is GitHub? So GitHub account is one of the development platform tools, not to say development, but a place for a lot of developers to store their codes, their projects. And then it's very nice and very easy for us to backtrack from to different versions. So for example, if I roll out version 2 and then there's something wrong, it's very easy for me to backtrack to version 1 again without any code changing. Just by one button, I can revert back to the previous versions ready. So it's a very, very powerful tool for a lot of developers to work together within a project. So imagine a team of 5 people or 5 developers, and then they are working in this one single project. If they use GitHub, it's very easy for them to merge the code from different development, and then there won't have a lot of code conflicts. To say that if the user A, that he or she changed in the file A, version developer B change file A again, and then when they merge together, it's very, very less cases then there will be a code conflicts. Code conflict means that 2 developers change at the same file on the same lines of code, then you have conflict. Most of the case, it's very, very rare cases we will have conflict if you follow the development guidelines from GitHub. Okay, so GitHub, if you plan to do a job career change or for IT students, fresh grads, I would strongly encourage to start using GitHub, because here, this is a platform where it's very easy for you to showcase your portfolio or something that you have tried to build. And when you go for job interview, you can just show them the code that you did. At least you show that you put the efforts in learning. A lot of startup companies, SME companies, fresh grad, or even job career change people, as long you have the attitude of continuous learning, they won't mind to take you in and pull you up. Because in Malaysia, it's very, very hard to find good talents, especially in web developer, in full stack JavaScript or even Python. It's very, very hard to find good talent in Malaysia. Okay, now let's go back. So over here, I can create a sandbox. So sandbox is a playground or an environment for me to build my project. So this is the basic code that I did. I just like do some code. How should I put it? Let me rephrase this one. I just set up the project to display for demo purpose this afternoon. Okay, I just share the code inside here. So GitHub, this is the codes, the project structures. So in order for me to import this project into Code Sandbox, I will need to create a sandbox and then import projects. So when I click on import projects, it will give me an options to import from GitHub. So I just need to paste the link and import and fork. So Code Sandbox will automatically help me to pull the code directly from GitHub and then fire up the project and set up the environment for me. So I just leave it for itself to installing all the package, all the libraries that I need. Then it will help me to do all the environment setup ready. So I don't need to set up my my laptop, my MacBook for the web development purpose. So it's very easy for beginners to start learning. Okay, let's give it some time. It's compiling. Oh, okay, while waiting, I will just answer two questions from here. Okay, we will just go for the first one. Ish. Copy. So, Wei Jie, I hope I pronounced it correctly, yeah, Wei Jie. So Wei Jie asks, like, web app that you mentioned, features and interactions, aren't these same as marketplace or e-commerce websites? Yes, marketplace, e-commerce sites, those are the things, those are what we call web applications. So if the web site is a static one, it's like you can't do any interactions, it's like a plain page for you to read only. You can't even do a login, you can't do a contact, submit a form. That's what we consider as a website, a static one. Static means it won't change based on the input from your users. So if you log into your Facebook, right, it's very easy for you to add a post inside the landing, inside the timeline. But to add an extra information or extra elements inside a static website is very, very tedious. Okay. And then another question from YH. So for system engineer, you go to take Cisco engineer exam. How about software developer? Is there any professional certificates for software developers? Yes, there's a lot of professional certificates, but it depends on which certificates they are looking for. If you're planning to go for like .NET, C#, then you can go for Microsoft certifications. And then for the Python open source programming language, Python will be not much, from what I know, not much of certifications. It depends on whether which company or certification you want. But more likely is if you can contribute to open source projects like GitHub. So if you go to GitHub, right, there's a lot of like libraries where you can try to contribute, and then you can learn a lot of things inside when you start contributing. A lot of cases where certifications, it depends on if you want to go for a higher management, then you can go for certificates. But most of the time, software engineers, it's very, very hard they go for certifications. More likely is like they want to see your portfolios or what did you did and how nice is your web applications built. Okay, I hope I answer your questions. Yeah, Mahesh. So Angela. Okay, so when you click, if you go into the dashboard, right? Okay, just go. So if you go into the dashboard, and then you are able to see the create new sandbox, right? So once you create a new sandbox, you should be able to see the import projects over here, a window pop-up, a window project over here, and then you can import the projects from the link that I shared, the GitHub project, import inside here. So this is the link I share inside the group chat. So feel free to import and fork, and a project will be created. Okay. So from here, okay, let me get one. Okay. So the first thing, let's okay. Okay, I do some explanations on the structural side. So I'm using Nux applications. If you heard of Nux.js or Vue.js, can you just type yes inside the group chat? If you didn't heard of that before, I think most of the IT fellows, you didn't heard them before, but non-IT fellows. But IT fellows, some of them, you might heard them like Vue or Nux. There's a lot of frameworks out there. And then the reason why we choose Nux.js is because Nux.js is easier to build a web applications. Not much of setting up, but you can focus more in business logic sites. Okay, I will answer your questions, Yongting, Node.js. Nux.js, right? It's built up on top of Vue.js. So you need to pick up a little bit of Vue, then you can directly move to Nux.js. It's quite straightforward. I will explain on the architectural side. So if you want to learn on Nux.js, it's free. It's free to learn. If you want to pick up on Nux.js, you can go through the resources, the guides over here. So you need to read through all the documentations for you to build the web applications. Okay, I won't go through the documentations. I'm not a lecturer. I don't read documentations. I'll just show you directly. Let's go. Okay, if you are interested, feel free to go to this website to read on the documentations. Okay, and then Yongting, Node.js. Okay, I think there's a lot of people who mess up about Node.js. If you heard of Node.js, type one inside the group chat. Node.js. For non-IT fellows, did you heard of Node.js before? If you're not from IT, if you heard of Node.js, type 1. If you didn't heard of Node.js, type 0. Yeah, so few coming in. Okay. Node.js, right? I think a lot of when you go through on web searching, you search for informations, right? Node.js. The first thing is you go through Node.js first. So you need to be very careful on this one. Yeah? Node.js is not a framework. Okay? Node.js is not a framework. Node.js is an environment for you to run JavaScripts. So by default, your browser is the only one that's able to run JavaScripts. So how do you run JavaScript in your browser? It's very easy. I hope that you are using Chrome. Yeah? I hope that you are not using Internet Explorer. If you're using Internet Explorer or Edge, please download Chrome or Mozilla Firefox. Okay? If you're using your browser in front of your laptop now, I want you to do a right click and then inspect. Right click and inspect. So a web dev tool will be pop up inside your browser. So when you right click inspect, this thing will pop up. Okay. Okay, this thing. Let me, by default, is like at your right side over here, right? So if you can see, these are the HTML code of the website and the CSS class. All of these are the CSS. Okay. So can you see the bottom over here? There's a console. If you can see the console, can you just type one inside the group chat? Can, yeah? So over here is where we can type JavaScripts. So for example, if I want to create a variable inside a JavaScript, we can use var. I'll just zoom in. Can I? Var name equal to admin. So from here, I can directly run my JavaScripts already. So a browser, by default, it comes with the features to compile JavaScripts. But in order for you to build JavaScript or web applications inside your laptop, you need to install Node.js inside a laptop. Then only you can run JavaScript inside your laptop without the browser. Okay. So I repeat one more time. If you want to create or build web applications inside your laptop, you will need to install Node.js as the environment for your laptop to run JavaScript without the browser. Okay, so this is the big difference for Node.js. Don't mess up Node.js with Nuxt.js, React.js, AngularJS. AngularJS, React.js, Nuxt.js, all of them are framework. Node.js is a runtime environment. Okay, be careful on this one, yeah? So don't mess up again for Node.js. Okay, let's go back to the dashboard with the IDE. So from here, by default, Nuxt.js, right, that will create all this folder for you automatically, and each of the folder that behave differently. They have their own functions because I would say only for JavaScript framework, yeah, for all different kinds of applications out there, especially in programming, most of the time they will split everything part by part. So all this part, right, they have their own purpose to store that. Because when you have all the things ordered nicely, tidy up, it's very easy for you to search for a particular file when you need to do some code changes. Okay, it's like you do documentations, file links, right? You place your paper, your file by their own categories. Same thing programming. So assets is where we want to put all the libraries or the external libraries, image, file, custody, style sheets, JavaScripts, libraries, external libraries, plugins that you want for web applications. For example, if I want to use a payment gateway from PayPal, from Bill Please, from Stripe, right? Then I will need to download the plugin and then install inside my web applications project. Then I need to place that inside my asset folder. The next one, components. This is the folder where we build widgets. So we build widgets by widgets, and then we place them inside components, and then we can reuse them. So I will be building widgets inside this component file, and then you will see how do I use them. Okay, asset, components, layout. If you came across with the web applications, right? If you go through different page, all of the page that have different layouts. For example, okay, where is a good example? Okay, I go back for Airbnb. Okay, this layout, I want you to focus on this layout. This is the navigation bar, and this is the big picture, right? The first landing page. Okay, when I click on export nearby, I still have the navigation, but Did you notice that the image over here, it becomes smaller? Just now, the previous one is bigger, right? This one is smaller. So the layout changes, the structures changes. So this is where inside this folder, we can create different structures of the layout. And then when we navigate to different pages, we want to show different layout, different ways of placing our widgets. This is where we can define inside this folder. Middleware. Middleware is used a lot in when we want to do intercepts between data passings. This one is a bit intermediate. If you want to explore more, go ahead. Check on the documentations. I will explain this too much in middleware. So page is where when we want to when the users land on your website, the first thing that you want to show is your landing page, right? So we code our landing page, and then example. I'll go back to Airbnb again. This is the landing page, right? And then when I click explore nearby, can you see the path over here? /s/o. Not sure I'm able to zoom. This one. So this one shows that I'm in other pages already. In other pages, which means that I can create different pages, navigation to different pages. I can create inside here. It's very simple. If I got time, I will show you how easy for you to create different page and navigate to other pages. Okay. Page plugins. If you want to write your own plugins, your own libraries, or your own functions, you can place it inside plugin. Static folder are meant to put your images, your documents, your media, videos, GIF file, all of them you can place inside static because you are not going to change anything inside image, your media file, all of them you can place inside static. Store is one of the important thing inside Nuxt.js. But if you want to build a static one, you can just ignore store. If you want to create a dynamic one, I would strongly suggest that you need to go through this reading the documentations for the store section. Is very, very powerful for web applications. Okay, I hope you are able to understand all the folders over here. So let's get started. If you have your questions, feel free to leave your questions inside the Q&A, yeah? So it's easy for me to keep track on which question that I answer. Zoom a bit. Okay. Page index. So by default, right? For all the pages under the index, we will have template divisions as script. So this is the HTML and this is the JavaScript. So now I want to create a component. So I right click on my component folder, create a file. Let's call it as a navigation.view. So when I create a navigation.view, and then by default, I will need to add template inside here. This is the default. This is good. Default code that you need for all the view file. Then we have the divisions inside here. So when you create any view file, you will need to add these 6 lines of code. Okay, these 6 lines. You need to add these 6 lines. Now, next thing. Okay. So in my browser, I want to create a navigation bar over here. And then let's try to create. I want to include this logo inside here. I can add in logo. So when I save the file and do a refresh, it's nothing. I don't have anything inside my index dot. It's because I haven't added the navigation bar into my index. Let's try to add the navigation bar over here. Navigation. Once I add this one, do a refresh. Do I have anything? Yep, I got something. A big leap icon over here, super big one. You see how easy I'm able to add. This is the landing page and this is the component. So let's try to change the components inside here. So I want to add, I want to create a navigation bar with a lot of items inside. So I will need to go through class, flex. These are the classes that I'll be using. So this is the one that I want to set the width of the item. I'll just go through very fast with it because I have the project done already. I will just do some copy and paste, and then no worries, all the code I will upload inside the GitHub, so you are able to see the updates from there. Okay, I will just copy and run the thing that I need. So navigation bar, next thing is I need the search input form. Paste this inside. And then inside my navigation, I need to add items. So I have logo. And then if I remember correctly, my logo is set to height of 16, a small one. And then I want to add my search input button. Now, can you see? So over here, I have a small logo because I set the class into 16. And this is the component that I create. Let me change the background color so you will be able to see the navigation bar. So I will refresh again. So this is a black color navigation background. And then this is the search bar that I create. This is just a component. A lot of cases, right, I build small components, and then if I need any one of them, I just copy and paste, move the whole components down to another project so I can reuse them. I won't need to change anything inside there. So this is the search area bar, where I can search for like like this, right? So this is a search bar. And then the next thing I want to add in, I want to create a user menu button. So I just create a user menu.view. And then let me move the file again. And then go back to my index, import my user menu component. So from here, refresh. You see, I have my user menu button and then the search bar and my icons. So can you see, are you able to imagine the components of the widgets now? Logo is my widget. The search area is my widget. This button is my widget. So I can build this widget and then I can just place it in different projects. So I can use them in different kind of projects because there's no dependencies. There's no nothing that you need to install. So this is the powerful thing in Next applications or in React and Angular. All of them that support widgets components building. This is the the logic, the directions is going for. So for front-end applications, you need to build widgets, you need to build components for your web applications, because it's very easy for you to replace the widgets one by one. So you can just reorder them, and then you can just remove them without changing a lot of code. And if I want, let's say if I don't want the search input inside my navigations, I can just simply remove this one, save this one, and refresh. Okay, I got to, okay, some catch. So I got my menu, user menu, and my logo, nothing inside. So it's very, can you see, it's very, very easy for you to remove and add widgets inside or your components inside of web applications. Okay, okay, search input. The next thing is I want to add in header content. So this is the header content I create, and then let me import the header content. Header content. Okay. For header content, right, we will need to pass in. Wait, let me remove the background first. So a header content, right, we need to pass in some values. Okay, I will share one more tool with you guys is pixels. Okay, motorcycle. Yep, I'm human. So this one is a free stock image. I think everyone likes free stuff, right? You don't want to pay anything, right? So this is a place where you can search for free photos and videos, and then you can use them inside your web application. So for example, I want to use Malaysia. I'm going to search for Malaysia. Let's use this one. Okay. I want to use this one, but I don't want to really download. I just want to use the image. So what I can do is right click, copy image address, and then go back to my header content. I want to add image URL, enter, and then I want to add heading 1 equal to it's time to travel locally. Heading 2, let's do some settle in somewhere new. Discover nearby today. Work or just relax. Okay, and save. And then refresh. Now, can you see? This is the size. Okay, and let's say, did you notice that the layout is a little bit different? Where I want to place my background, where my navigation will be on top of my image. So what I can do is I need to add something inside here, a class. I need to add class slash and then maximize the screen size, and then I'll set it to relative. So I will set this one to always be at the top of my website. I can use top 0 and z index to 10. And then save this one and refresh. Can you see? My navigation bar will be on top of my content already, right? So if I share this one to you, this link, I'll just paste inside here. You can just open inside a browser. Now you are able to access this website directly from my sandbox already. Right? Easy, right? It's very easy for you to put up a website, but you will need to build your own components, your own widgets. Then it's very easy for you to put up website by website. And I want you to imagine something. If it's very, very easy to learn, there's a lot of free resources out there, but it will take you a lot of time to go through the documentations, readings, to master the web development projects, right? And then it will also take you some time for you to build all your components or libraries inside here. Okay. So for throughout my journey, right, to become a full stack developer, it took me around like 3 to 4 years to build up, to read all the documentations, to go through a lot of like bug searchings, solving problems. Most of the time, Stack Overflow is my good friend, is my mentor. Been through a lot of like hard works, sleepless nights to come up with something like this. My own libraries, my own templates, and then once you master on the framework, on the tools itself, it's very easy for you to pull out any web application, any website already. Not website, it's web applications. Very easy. Within a week or two, you are able to put one simple web applications up without any problem. Okay. So this is one of the example I will showing today. Okay. Some of the resources that I want to share with you guys is if you want to add like payment gateway, you can go for Bill Please, which is a local company where you can do the money transfers from your to your bank account, from this web application to your bank account. Ruby is very, very nice to use. If you want to go for something better, you can go for Stripe. It's another payment gateway, which you will need to go through the documentations. How do you do the API linking for your payment gateway? And if you want to play around with the CSS, right? All the classes that I use over here, like this time, this font, this settings, the setting for my search bar, the buttons, all of them is inside Tailwind CSS. So I use Tailwind CSS to build my to handle my styling. So Tailwind CSS is one of the powerful framework CSS that I've been through with, where I don't really need to code the settings pixels percentage one by one. So it's very, very nice to use for to use Tailwind CSS when it comes to responsive website. So what do I mean by responsive? Let me guess one thing. Every one of you guys, you will at least has 2 widgets, at least 2 or 3. One is your phone, one is your laptop, one is your tablet, right? So all these 3 widgets, you will have different screen size. But did you notice that if you browse a website by using your phone and your tablets and your laptop, right? All these 3 resolutions, screen resolutions show you different structures or different layout. So that is what we call responsive. A responsive website, it will restructure the website based on the resolutions of the device that the user is using, which is very, very important that you need to handle in a lot of web applications, because nowadays there's a lot of users that will be using their mobile phone to land into your website to check on something, because it's very easy for them to just pick up their smartphone and just go for Google search anything. So your website must be responsive enough to fit into different screen resolutions. And trust me, there's too many screen resolutions that you need to handle manually. So this is why we will need to use framework. TVCSS comes in to help you to match all the framework, all the resolutions. But there's some simple settings you need to set up based on different screen size. Okay, feel free to go to the TVCSS and the documentation is over there. Will you please share to you guys, Stripe share to you guys, TV share to you guys, GitHub share to you guys already. Okay, Pexel share to you guys. Maybe push this off. Question box share to you guys as well. Yep, let me continue with my slides. Okay, now, so just now I explained about the Next.js front-end applications, right? So this is where, so you have front-end applications by using Next.js, and then when you build your front-end applications ready, the next thing is you will need to build your backend, your server by using Express.js. Okay, we'll be using two. The reason why we use Next.js because Next.js is powerful in statics handling. In front-end part, where you can't build APIs with Next.js, you can build APIs with Express.js. We split two projects out because it's good for us to manage, and then if one of them die off, another one still up. So it would affect your environment. So we will teach our students to use front end for Next.js, back end for Express.js. And then in order for them to do communications, they will need to use REST API, which is another framework for you to learn, for you to do data parsing. So you need to use RESTful APIs for front-end and back-end. After that, you have front-end application done already, you have back-end application done already, you have RESTful API set up ready. Now, the next thing is you will need to have a database. Because each of the website that you can see, all of them, they have informations, they have image, they have medias, files, documents, all of them that we need to save in a place. So this place is where what we call database. It doesn't matter on what kind of database they are using as long you are able to store data. Where if you can see the CRUD, normally it's a short form. So C stands for create, R stands for retrieve, U stands for update, D stands for delete. So I repeat again. C is to create, R is to retrieve, U is to update, D is to delete. So you will need to perform this CRUD process when you want to do data injection, retrieve data, update the data, or even delete the data inside your database. So this is the next step for database. And after that, once you got these three things set up ready, and it's time for you to push it up to productions for your end users, your customers, your client to see, to view, to use, then you will need to use cloud hosting. And can you see the boxes that I placed them together? And then can you see Node.js? So in order for you to run front-end applications, your back-end applications, your Next.js, your Express.js, you need to install Node.js inside there in order for you to execute your Next applications and Express applications. And then you can place this whole thing inside the cloud hosting. You can choose from AWS, Amazon, you can go for Google Cloud, you can go for Microsoft Azure, you can go for Heroku. As long find the cloud hosting that you like the most, go ahead and play around. But if you want something easy, right, you don't want to go very, very technical, I would recommend Heroku. It's very easy to set up, where you don't really need to learn on the setup server part, environment server. Heroku will help you to handle that. If you want to go technical, you want to challenge yourself, Amazon, Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure, feel free. For IT students, fresh grads, right, if you plan to go into web application development, right, DevOps is one of the things that you need to master or you need to learn, because it's very, very important. Throughout, if I were to put 1 to 10, a scale of 1 to 10 for front end, back end, and DevOps, sometimes DevOps will eat up like 4 to 5, because a good architectural design or development operations, DevOps, right? A good one will definitely help the team to move faster in development, and then the web applications to move faster. So because it will indirectly, it will directly affect, not indirectly, it will therefore will directly affect the performance of the front end, back end, and even database. So for full stack developer, for IT students, if you want to go for senior, you need to pick up DevOps. Yes, it's a very long path, but it's good to know. I also been struggling on the DevOps side. It really need to spend a lot of time reading on the documentations and try and error to play around. It's like a playground for you. Okay. The next thing, once you have the cloud hosting ready, the last thing will be Namecheap. Okay. Namecheap. So you need to purchase your domain knowledge. You need to purchase a domain URL to tie it to your web applications. Like when you host your web applications ready, you normally it's like IP. But if you want to allow your users to go for, like, for example, www.abc123.com, and if you direct link to your web applications, this is where you can purchase your domain from that. A .com, a simple one, normally it will cost you around 40 plus 50. Normally it will go for until 50, 55 lah, based on the price I paid. 55 per year, not per month, per year. So it's quite cheap for you to own a domain. So go ahead and buy your own domain. For example, your name. For me, I bought my emonhe.com already. Yes, it's like 8 USD per year annually. Okay, so last step will be Namecheap setup by your own domain. And then the next thing is GitHub, your version control tools. So this is where I will save all the projects inside. For my personal one, normally I will save inside GitHub. Last time I used to use Bitbucket, and some of my clients, they are using GitLab. It depends on which tool you are using, but till down the road, that works the same. Okay, so I saved a lot of my projects in GitHub, Bitbucket, and GitLab before. I hope that everyone is able to learn something from the webinar today. At least all the resources that I share are helpful for you guys. And then if you have any questions, feel free to leave it inside the Knowledge Circle, the Facebook group. And then just draw a message inside there, and then we will be very happy to help you guys over there. Okay, hope to see you on the next webinar.
Right, so before we end this, if you guys have any further questions, you can always come to our Facebook page and talk to us, or either, as Edmund mentioned, the Lead Knowledge Circle. If not, we would end this webinar tonight and hope to see you in the next one, pretty much next week. Actually, we're going to have a workshop or either a webinar just like this for you to actually learn and also pick the brains of Edmund and also Dr. Lau. Yeah. So thank you so much again. Appreciate all of your time. Also your time spending with us to learn something new, especially if you're a student or either you are non-tech. I'm sure you guys appreciate something from this. And also stay safe, stay well, and bye. See you guys in the next webinar. Yeah.
Okay, bye. Happy weekend.
Yeah, have a good weekend too, guys.